CP3.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's right. It's Monday night. You know what time it is. It's time for Sports on the Hill podcast, episode 258, coming to you live from the lab. CP3 as always. As you see, we already got RobbieG and AnnaK live in studio, ready to break down the week that was in DC sports. Starting out with the Capitals as always in their 1-2 week. Then we're going to recap that exciting NFC and AFC Championship game. And then we're going to talk some Wizards and their unfortunate downward spiral into the 11th seed in the East right now. Get these guys' opinions on what's going on with the round table as always. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's welcome Robbie and Anna into the show. Robbie, how are you doing today live from the Man Cave?
I'm doing great. We definitely have that up and down week, but I mean, those football games were phenomenal. I'm sorry, Anna, it was a rough one for you, but great games just overall from like a more neutral perspective in the NFL. I think, and we'll talk about this during the football talk, I think it was the greatest playoffs, at least if you combine divisional rounds and championship rounds. It's come down to the final 2 minutes in all 6 games. You can't really ask for better football, and I'm sure the NFL is really happy with, and we've talked about it for the last couple of weeks, how happy Carol, I know, is with this new format. And it continued. I thought that there could be a letdown this week because I thought all 4 games were so good last week, and there was no letdown. It was just as high quality. And it was funny, at the beginning of the Kansas City game, I was convinced it was kind of over, right? But then they got that field goal, and I was like, they cut it to 8, and I said, that could change momentum right there. And sure enough, I was on a live stream in chat saying that could be the difference. And we were like, I don't know. It's like last week it was, and a team came back and they're like, I don't know if that happened again. And boom, just like that, like it did. So we'll have a lot to break down on that one. And both games were very exciting. But with the hockey, a tale of 2 very different games. The second one, or the most recent hockey game I liked the most, and we will have to break down those Wizards games, unfortunately. But I've got a full roundtable with us tonight for that, so that'll be fun to bring in the guys, and we'll try to figure out how to get back on to the winning ways. But Anna, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm just kidding. It was I thought yesterday was it was exactly what you want as a football fan. It came down to the wire, and certainly didn't expect a quarterback fumble to make or break the game. But you know what? I was happy with the team. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be nice to see new a whole new teams playing. It's kind of nice. Just the Kansas City's great and Patrick Mahomes is great, but you know what? It was time to let's see somebody else. And Burrows is great, and I don't know. I'm still not going to root for LA just because I'm a Northern California girl. So it's almost like the state's divided. But good for them. 2 young coaches. It makes it exciting. I will say it does make it exciting. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And
one thing I do want to talk to Carol about later is the last 5 years, there have been an awful lot of offensive coordinators from Washington who's made it to the Super Bowl. So this is McVay's second one, and Kyle got in once as well. So, the NFC West is producing teams that are going all the way. So, which should be no surprise since they had both teams in it this year in the conference game. But they seem to be the best division, or at least right now in the NFC for sure. So, and you guys played, admirably. So, but I'll let Carol get in his quick thoughts on that, and then we'll jump into some hockey.
It was a great game. The defenses, controlled it. Cal, once again, in my opinion, outthinking the game, and didn't make adjustments like we've seen him in the past, and went away from his game plan, even though it was a tight game, and he tried to, like I say, outthink the game instead of just sticking with what's working. They didn't get Kittle involved enough. The Rams did a good job in defending him, but it was a hell of a game. And the Cincinnati KC game, I thought it was over. It was 21-3. I was posting and, talking about how bad it was going to get because I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to the Bengals. I knew they were a good team. I knew they were a second-half team, but the adjustments that they made and found a way to get their stars the ball, and Burrow stepped up big time, and they deserved a trip to the Super Bowl. I still haven't decided who I'm rooting for yet. I just don't know yet. I would like to see Stafford to get his ring for all the years he endured with the Lions. I like Cincy, but as always, some of the Washington football team fan base has found a way to insert themselves into this Super Bowl, because now they're talking about Joe Burrow and how Chase Young is a bust and how he's got them there on his second year in the league and all this other stuff. So I don't know where I stand right now, because if he wins, then I'm going to have to hear that all off season from some of these fans, and I don't know if I can take that.
But most importantly, at some point, did you or Robbie have a moment you're like, holy shit, San Francisco may take this?
They had the biggest lead.
Come on now.
Going into the fourth quarter, then a 10-point lead, right? It's the biggest comeback ever in the NFC Championship game. So there was definitely a time.
But you had to be like, holy shit, oh my God, the Niners may just take this. Anna may be right.
Yeah. I feel bad because you guys were doing a lot better when I wasn't paying as close attention. And then I had to do a bunch of things, and I finally got to sit down and really enjoy the end of the game. And that was the tough part. So I'm sorry if I jinxed you, but I want to say that they played a hell of a game. They made LA work for it. They beat them 2 out of 3 times. So they definitely deserve to be there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have, it's more of a state thing, the NorCal, SoCal thing. But hats off. They played a great game, and although I do feel like I'm going to pull for Cincinnati, I can't be a NorCal girl and pull for a SoCal team. So I am pulling for the Bengals, but I do love the fact that the last 2 weekends of football have been very exciting.
And your team was in it. That's more than we could say for ours. But with that being said, let's
hockey.
Yeah, let's switch to hockey, and because we'll skip over the first game kind of. If people would like to know more about how we felt about Vegas versus Washington, you could see it all over our faces in last week's episode. We saw it live in true color here on True Radio Network. So 1-0 game. It was one mistake, and I'll give your podcast. You guys did a good job talking about it on the Power Play Point podcast this week, and I was happy to hear that you were back on, so people can check that out. But not a whole lot we can break down that we didn't in the moment and in the immediacy afterwards. I'll let each one of you guys give your quick take on it, and then we can sort of move on to the next game. I'll start off with you, Carol. What was your quick thought of the 1-0 loss that we experienced last week?
Really not too much to say. Lack of offense. They couldn't get past a hot goalie. They couldn't. I don't think they got enough traffic in front of the net. And like you said, Vegas got one lucky bounce, and 1-0. I always say I hate to see a shutout, especially at home. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Anna, what are your thoughts of? I know it's Vegas, and it sucks because we've beaten them almost every time at home in the regular season, and I've been there for all of them. And the one that I couldn't get to, they lost 1-0. I feel bad because I wish I was there. I mean, I would have hated to be there for a 1-0 loss, but yeah, it's hard to be like, oh, maybe I could have been Grant's lucky charm. I feel bad missing that game. But what were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think they played terribly. Like we talked about this on Power Play. It wasn't a terrible effort on the Caps end, but I will say, when you're looking at the stats, when you have 0-5 on the power play, that just sucks. There's no reason for it. It's like, come on. But man, that night's goalie was on fire. You can't have anything but respect for him. And we just didn't play up to par. So I'm not going to say that I have no blame either way. The next game, I kind of feel a little more opinionated. But I definitely feel like this was a meh game, and we had a hot goalie, and 0-5 on the power play, just it's gonna kill us. Like, come on now.
Our power play has been abysmal for a while now, and yeah, I mean we can kind of skip the rest of this, and I'm going to share it to a couple of other groups, but why don't you break down the scoring of this next game? I'll let Carol give his thoughts, and then I'll give mine on that one.
Yeah, sure thing. So on Wednesday, Capitals welcomed the San Jose Sharks. I was really hoping for a much better match, but this not so much. The Sharks scored the first two goals in the first and second period, and then at 14 seconds into the third, Sprong scores. And what's so great about this is he had 3 healthy scratches prior to this. So, and he came out and was like, screw you, I'm going to show you what I got. And here I am. So he scores. He gets his 7th, assisted by Backstrom. And unfortunately, the Sharks scored 2 more times, and it's like a 4-1 loss. It was just like one of those kind of games. It was sloppy. I felt like there was just a disconnect. They're just, whatever it was just a clusterfuck kind of all around, to be honest. And I hate to say that, but this was not what I expected against the Sharks. Yay, Daniel Sprong. Good for him. I still don't know why he was a healthy scratch for those 3 games, but come on. His speed, his skills there, but this is a terrible, terrible game. And then my heart breaks for Grant for coming here with his girlfriend from Scotland to watch this game. And Gil was there too. And it's like, this sucked. I really thought this was going to be like one of those games that were like, it's a sure thing. But of course, with anything, nothing's a sure thing. But this was a hard one to watch. So, Carol, I don't know if you had a chance to see any of it or highlights.
I watched some of it. I didn't get a chance to pay attention closely to it. Was just it's. I mean, it's not that many pieces that's missing. I mean, we're getting healthier. Just like you say, with the power play faltering the way it is, And the way 5-on-5 play is, they were in the first, I think I saw a stat, the first 22 games, they were the, top team in 5-on-5 goals. Now they're like in the bottom third of the league in 5-on-5 goals. So if you're not getting goals
Right.
5-on-5 and not getting goals on the power play, you pretty much giving yourself a uphill battle to try to win a game in the NHL. So something has to click with these guys sooner or later. The game we're about to talk about was a huge step in the right direction. But yeah, it is. There's been too much excuse me, inconsistencies with the team. Defense for one, and we know that's what leads to their offense because when they got the forecheck going and getting the puck out the zone, the defensive zone quickly and transition into offense. Like I said, 5-on-5, they were leading the league in the first 22 games of the season. So they have to get back to basics and get back to what they were doing earlier in the season. And yeah, this was just I'll just go ahead and say this was a turd of a game, honestly. Like you said, the first game, 1-0, they were in it. It was a tough game.
Yeah.
They lost, but this one,
This
yeah.
is awful.
yeah.
I don't know really what else to add. It's just been a tough one for a whole lot of reasons. It's mostly because I really like Daniel Sprong at the top of the third, getting it to 2-1. I thought that they could get some momentum and get some pull in that third. And then there's just nothing happening really after that. And then they get one at 16:51. And then obviously the empty netter to make it 4-1. But they had a real opportunity to come back in this game. And I just was disappointed, but I was happy for Daniel Sprong that he scored. It shows that he should be in the lineup.
Great.
And I was really bummed that it's another loss for Grant and all those people. And I was hoping I was going to the Monday, but I was invited to both the Monday and Wednesday games, and both. I was hoping they'd be better for Grant, but. Bummer indeed. But anyway, let's get into the good game because there's a lot of exciting things for everybody except for former Washington Capitals goalie Braden Holtby, who I kind of feel a little bit bad about. But yeah, why don't you break down the scoring and then we can talk about this game.
There we go. So Friday night, it was a 5-0 win. Like, this was just insane. Power play goals by Wilson at 1:29 in the first, followed by a power play goal by Carlson at 7:54. And then, of course, we have TVR's first NHL goal at 13:08. And that was all in the first period. So that was the best way to start off this game. I was like, yeah, especially with Tommy. Second period, you have Michael gets his 6th, assisted by Eller and Schultz. And then Backstrom scores his 3rd at 16:50, assisted by Orlov. Unfortunately for all of us who are Holtby fans, and I'll admit I am one of them, he was pulled after the second. Well, that was hard to see, and there were no goals in the third. So it was a Caps win, 5-0. It was hard to see that it was against Holtby. I don't know. I have so many mixed emotions because, seeing Backstrom and Holtby talking, and it had nothing to do with the game. There's no shit talking. There's no, nothing except, hey, we're talking about our families. Hey, he's a great guy. Hey, there's so much respect. Just how can you not want Holtby to come back to DC? I'm like, do I have to remove the emotional part when it really comes down to it and say, okay, so just, stats wise, would he be beneficial to if he returned to the Capitals? Monetary wise and whatever, it's so hard to say because it's I just love Braden Holtby and I love who he is for the team and everything that he has to offer. So it's tough. I don't know. Carol, did you see the game?
Yes, I did. Those power play goals were, like I said previously, they haven't been being effective on the power play. And to get 2 first period power play goals was, like I said, a step in the right direction. Van Riemsdyk getting his first goal, the
Yeah.
exclamation point on the first period, and they, kept their foot on their throat. They kept playing solid defense. They didn't lack up and not play 60 minutes, and they got the shutout for my main man Double V. And that's always good to see because he's lost so many shutouts in the third period, and it was good to see them lock down and not take dumb penalties late in the game when they were up, and give them an opportunity to avoid the shutout. So this was definitely a huge step in the right direction, and hopefully some momentum going into the upcoming game tomorrow. Huge game tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, and I think that there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, I wanted to see that momentum, and I have to take myself out of that personal opinion with Braden Holtby and just think if it was any other team, I'd be like, fuck yeah, like this is amazing, this is awesome. But then when it's against Braden Holtby, I'm like, oh. So I do have to remove myself from that. But and I agree with you. God, tomorrow is going to be a huge game. Huge. And I hope they ride that 5-zip game and that high and play smart hockey like they did.
I wish there wasn't such a long time between those games. I'm a little nervous that it's hard to ride it that many days. I hope with all of my heart, how much I hate Pittsburgh. We've talked about it extensively on this program. But I'm still very nervous about this game. I mean, Pittsburgh's been playing phenomenal hockey, and yes, we played really well in this one game, but just overall it hasn't been quite there for us these last couple of weeks. I'm hoping that this is something we could build on and we can kind of ride from it, but right now I feel like Pittsburgh's a very different team than Dallas.
Hey, Pittsburgh got beat by Detroit the other night, so any team is
I mean, hockey's a weird sport, right? I mean, the whole beginning of the season, Pittsburgh was terrible and we were the best team in hockey, and now the last month, everything looks totally, totally different. I was just so happy with the number of different goal scorers in this game. Going back to that, starting with Tom Wilson and going to John Carlson. So Tom got 13, Carlson's got 9.
Stop there.
Yeah, and exactly. And so that's great. Both power play goals, we talked about that they really needed. And then TVR getting that third goal, making it 3-0. And Connor McMichael, I love how well he's played his 6th goal of the season already. That's just really impressive to me. And just overall, just a really great game. I did really feel for Braden Holtby. Because it's the first time we've gone against him, which is kind of crazy. I hadn't realized we hadn't gone against. Oh, and I don't want to forget Nicholas Backstrom. He did get his 3rd goal of the season, assisted by Dmitry Skorlov. His 15th assist of the season. So that's pretty good for him. Yeah, exactly. Well, 2 of my favorite players, 19 and 9, which, you have your 3s and I have my 9s. So, I will take it. And but yeah, I mean, I love that Nicholas Backstrom spent the 3rd period talking to Braden Holtby across the benches. And they were talking about just their family and stuff, not even about the game and stuff like that. So that makes me feel good because I know, Carol, you and I were talking about how if there was a reunion, the players still really love him, and there's so much mutual respect there. I saw one person post that maybe this is our way of trying to lower his trade value so we can get him cheaper. And but Carol, do you change your opinion now? You said you'd take him back on the cheap. Now that you saw him get shellacked by us, did it change your opinion?
I mean, with Holtby, it's a mental thing, and how comfortable he was at Capital One. He just where he was at in Toronto or Montreal somewhere last season, and now he's in Dallas. We know he's it
was Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah, one of the Canadian teams that sticks. But he's a creature of habit. He has a routine. So even I think he's 9-9 now. Even I think if he would come back here, I think that he would be able to regain his confidence and get his old groove back like we're known to see him in his old stellar form. Because all it takes is a change in environment. Going back to a familiar environment, and that could spark change and get him back to, doing what he was doing when he was that great goalie that we all know and love.
Yeah. I don't know. I would still take him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I would probably just straight up trade Sammy for him right now if they would let us do it. So, but we'll see. What happens going forward. Let's just talk about this upcoming schedule. Some really big games coming up. We actually only have 2 games this week, which is kind of surprising. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. I mean, a couple weeks ago we had like 4 game weeks and things like that. And it gets a little shorter in February, but they are filling in the schedule with extra games we weren't going to get in February because they were originally going to go to the Olympics. So that'll be interesting. I still would like to cover the Olympics too. We'll try to find a way to cover that as well. I know that football will be ending up, so we'll have a little bit more time. And do you watch the Winter Olympics at all?
I do.
Yeah.
You know what, I have to say that I'm totally fascinated by speed skating.
Nice.
I just find it like, oh my God. And my husband is huge into anything with downhill skiing because I don't ski at all. I'm not graceful at all. But he loves anything, the downhill, anything like that. But I think the speed skating is like, my God, that is amazing to watch.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we
What
might have you
about
come
you?
on. Yeah, I definitely do. I'm a little bummed because the hockey was my favorite, right?
Yeah,
It was
of
the sport
course.
that was like the thing I liked the most. But I definitely catch parts, and so I'll definitely have. I know a lot of streamers that love individual different sports. So maybe we'll do like a big round table at the end of an episode where everyone can talk about the one sport that's interested them the most, or something like that. So that would be kind of fun. I know that Josh Turk just entered chat, and he's Canadian, so they love the Olympics down there. So I'm sure he would love to talk about it as well.
You wouldn't believe what sport I like watching in the Winter Olympics, and I don't even know
Okay.
why I
Curling.
like watching it.
It's curling, right?
Is it
Yeah,
curling?
you remember curling? I still don't know. I love that sport so much. I can sit and watch curling all day long. I don't know why. I've never played it.
That's amazing. I remember that because we've actually. What's crazy about doing this now for almost 7 seasons
That
is
you
we've
get to know.
we've covered Winter Olympics before now, so it's kind of cool that we'll get to do it again.
But Carol, I learned that just like last week, like randomly down at the wharf, the National Wharf. I don't know if you've been there. They actually have a curling night.
Wow.
Actually, I think it's like beers and curls or something like that. It was just like very cool. But it is like a fantastic outdoor skating rink that, and like it's just awesome. But like they have a curling night, so if you're interested in trying it out,
that's cool. Yeah, I can't skate at all. I'm
a hot mess.
Right. It's pretty funny that all 3 of us can't skate, but we love hockey, right? But that is what it is. I'm sure Josh is from Canada, can skate, and he says that he absolutely loves curling. He thinks it's amazing. So
I don't know why.
So that's pretty cool that we've got a recording artist in chat that loves. We'll definitely talk a bit about that, even if the hockey is still going on. I think we could do both. And
so we'll have a Sports on the Hill curling competition.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I love the sport, man. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And like everyone, I feel like likes 1 or 2 different winter sports. It's different than the summer one, where I feel like in summer, like everyone likes a ton of different things because there's so many different sports in the summer. But I feel like winter people like really focus in on a couple of different ones. But it'd be cool to talk about. Well, let's talk about this upcoming schedule because I could talk Olympics forever. But I know that in about 5-6 minutes, we're going to switch to football talk. So let's talk about we're going to Pittsburgh tomorrow at 7:00, and then it's a back-to-back. It's our first back-to-back in a very long time. We play Edmonton at home, and then we've got a really long break until next Tuesday, where there's a game against Columbus. So it's back-to-back, but a big gap before and a big gap after. Carol, I'll let you have the first crack at these 2 teams.
Well, speaking of Columbus, they're getting beat right now by Florida 8-4 with 2.5 minutes left in the third. But
8-4.
8-4. Florida is putting it on them.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been watching this for the last about 15 minutes, and Florida just Just putting it on.
Oilers have been tough, though. I mean, they've won. I just wanted to quickly say they've won 4 out of their last 5 games. They lost to Florida 6-0, by the way. So Florida's just putting drumming on different teams all over the place. But the other ones, they'd be Calgary 5-3, Vancouver 3-2, Nashville 3-2, and Montreal 7-2. But Edmonton's been playing some good hockey. Carol, I'm scared to play them.
High scores.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
Edmonton
scared.
is a fast team and a high scoring team, but if you can get a lead on them, a 1 or 2 goal lead, and put the pressure on them for them to have to play defense and try to be successful doing that, and if you play your game, they're a team that likes to go up. If they can get up, then they can control the pace of the game because you're chasing them. But if you can get the lead on them and get the forecheck going and get those speedy guys up against the boards a couple of times, they tend to slow down a little bit once they get hit a few times. So I'm not really. I mean, Edmonton is a good team. Don't get me wrong, but they've been on a decline lately. So they're definitely beatable. But the game against the Penguins is going to be key because, like I said, the Penguins now they have Malkin back and they've been pretty hot. I believe they're right above the Capitals in the standings. I think when I posted the graphics, I'm not sure. They're right above or right under. I can't remember. But remember, they were at the bottom of the division early in the season. So they're getting their stride together, and they're making a statement. And like you said, Robbie, the last month or so, the statement the Caps been making hasn't been a good one. So they definitely need to come out and, play like they played against Dallas, play solid defense, when they get on the power play, make sure they score and, put the pressure on Pittsburgh to have to answer the bell at home because they always play better on the road because they simplify their game, the Capitals, that is. So it's definitely a winnable game. It definitely needs to be a statement game after the slide they've been on. So definitely should be a 2-0 week for this team. I'm going to predict a 2-0 week for this team.
All right. I love that. Anna, what are your thoughts on this Pittsburgh, Edmonton, doubleheader, I should say?
I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer, but I think I'm going 1-1. Honestly, I don't know.
Which way are you going though? We lose on the road and we win at home, or the other way around?
No. Exactly. Sorry. All of a sudden I got the hiccups and I'm trying to get rid of them. And I'm like, this is just embarrassing. I was like, this is the worst. I want to see them beat Pittsburgh, but I just don't know if they're going to it. I'm going to have to go with, losing to Pittsburgh and winning at home against Edmonton. I hate that, but I just feel like, I don't know. We are like the Capitals they're just not on like a streak, if that makes sense. And I feel like the Pens are, and we're just not there yet.
Right. I think we lose them to Pittsburgh and we beat Edmonton is my gut feeling too. I don't want to have the emotional letdown. I would rather be the other way around. Hell, I'd rather win both of them. I mean, that's the ideal. But I hope that Carol is right and I'm wrong. But I have this sinking feeling. I hate Pittsburgh. I hate playing there. I don't like the long layoff.
And they're on a roll.
Yeah, but maybe it's our get right. So that's
Fingers crossed.
It is. All right. Well, thank you for helping us break it down, Anna. Do you have any final thoughts on the 49ers game before we're gonna switch into that in a minute? But I wanted to give your last take on that.
No, I'm proud of my team. I thought they did awesome. TimC, I think, is up and out of San Francisco. So we'll see what happens, which is, I like him, but apparently not everybody else does.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on. I'm sorry that I couldn't give you 2 victory Mondays in a row, but it was good to see you. I know that you're going to take maybe a couple of weeks off here, but we'll definitely bring you back on maybe to talk Olympics in a couple of weeks and some hockey. And I wish you well, and I really hope that people check the Power Play Point podcast. You were fantastic on it this week. Click on the sports.thp.com, the podcast partners button. and click on it, and we'll have bios for all our people on the website soon. As we go into season 7, the last update to the website will be there. So, but for now, definitely click the podcast partners button, and I will give you a shout out in my Twitch chat as well. But Anna, thank you as always, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of the show, even though everyone was against the Niners, Dujanay and Carol. But that's okay.
Josh just said the 49ers defense played a hell of a game. So
they did.
He's an unbiased Canadian from Toronto, so who likes the NFL. So that's awesome. So
all right, awesome. Have a great show, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you. All right. So, well, welcome, Dujanay, to the show. We've gotten to break down a bunch of awesome playoff football so far. This is week 3 of our playoff coverage already. It kind of blows my mind that we're already coming to the end of it. But how are you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing great. I was going to come on here with a drink and a cigar, but, represent Joe Burrow. But I decided not to, but I'm doing excellent, man. This playoffs have been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I was telling Carol at the top of the show, I'm making the argument, I think it's the best playoffs in the history. I think if you take into account the 4 divisional games, all of them solid, none of them were blowouts, all last play, and then these 2 both coming down in the final 2 minutes, if not overtime. You can't ask for better. I mean, we were chatting during the second game. We could kind of see, unfortunately, that San Francisco I didn't think was going to have one more comeback left in them. But just phenomenal games, at least from
right. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
All right, Carol, I'll let you take it away and talk about these 2 games, and I'll give my breakdown as well as Dujanay, I'm sure.
No doubt, man. It was an exciting weekend of football. We're going to start off with that AFC Championship game that started out looking like it was going to get out of hand. 21-3, Kansas City had the lead. I thought it was pretty much over. I thought after the 13-second comeback from the previous week, I thought Kansas City offense was clicking, and they had the confidence to beat anybody after doing that. But Mr. Joe Burrow had something else to say about that in the second half, and I got to give a hell of a shout-out to their defensive and offensive coordinators for making adjustments that were effective and that pretty much won the game for them in the second half. Just to quickly go over some of the stats before we break it down more. Joe Burrow, 23 for 38, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 86.5 quarterback rating. Pat Mahomes, 26 for 39, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 91.3 quarterback rating. Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 54 yards, 9-yard average with a touchdown. And Kelsey had 10 catches, 95 yards, 9.5-yard average, and 1 touchdown. Cincy had 21 first downs. KC had 24. Cincy was an impressive 8 for 14 on third downs. KC was 6 for 12. And the time of possession, which was the key, 35 minutes and 56 seconds. 26 seconds and 29 minutes and 42 seconds for Kansas City. That drive to take the lead, that 7-minute drive, that was the statement. We were speaking earlier about I felt the turning point of that game was at the half. Kansas City was poised to get points and would have, put a foot on Cincinnati's throat, and they failed to get points on field goal or a touchdown. And I tweeted out right after that happened, I think that might cost Kansas City after Cincinnati got that touchdown, late in the first half. So, yeah, this game definitely did shock me. I didn't see this coming. And, congrats to Cincinnati. And, Dujanay, what was your take on this game?
I'm just going to say, I told you. I told you. I've been saying this since the beginning. The playoffs started. That Cincinnati was going to get this job done. See, you guys learn something, kids. If you do something, coaches, people who play football, kids, you learn something here. Now, if they had gotten a touchdown, I feel like that would have been hurtful. A field goal, not so much here. Although it would have been great for them if they had gotten a field goal. They should have gotten some points there.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when they came out in the second half, Kansas City clearly thought that they had this other team beat. Again, kind of like we saw when the Dallas Cowboys played Washington and they got upset because they thought Washington was going to lay down, and they started a fight because they thought that Washington was going to lay down. See, they thought that the Cincinnati Bengals was just going to lay down after this lead. Like, they just thought they were just going to go and do a bunch of 3-and-outs because they had already kind of stifled their offense. They were getting pressure on Joe Burrow. They really weren't running the ball very well. Zach Taylor, you big dummy, stop running on first down. They knew that's what you were doing. You're going to have to mix it up a little better. But they thought that this was going to be a lay-down period for them. But they weren't doing a good job of running the clock out. That was a problem. They didn't make any adjustments. So when they saw that there was a little bit of a comeback, they tried to go back to the well that they had just come out of in the first half and try to run the score up. And that wasn't working because they had adjusted to that already. And really, Cincinnati didn't do anything different defensively. They just played better on defense. The corners played better. They were able to get pressure and able to move the pocket. There were two things, especially at the end, and even in overtime, where Mahomes is running around and he's got guys open. I don't know what he's doing. He's just joysticking around and takes a sack, making guys miss. Had a couple guys open. I don't know who he wants or who he's looking to throw to, but he doesn't throw it. He takes a sack. Fact of the matter is, Andy Reid goes Andy Reid in a big game. You know, he's known for that, but they didn't make any adjustments. Cincinnati made adjustments, stayed in the game, and of course, big time, Mr. Joe Burrow, Super Bowl Joe, whatever you want to call him, LSU Joe, he got it done. He just simply got it done. Like with his legs, he kind of willed his team back into this thing. And I said it before, their defense made some plays, especially with those picks and in the red zone, that allowed them to stay in this game. If their defense doesn't do this, this thing gets way out of hand, even worse than what it was. But Kansas City took their foot off the gas, didn't make any adjustments, and thought that the Bengals were going to lay down after being pretty much manhandled in the first half.
I really can't think, because they got beat in week 17 with an 11-point lead in the second and going into halftime. So I can't think that they slept on them. I just think, like you said, they, I don't know if they felt like it was, but there was a lot of drop catches on third down that were the extended drivers there. We saw Kelsey drop one. We saw Hill drop one. They just weren't crisp in the second half as they were in the first. I don't know if the halftime meal had them a little lazy or something, but they just weren't clicking like they were. And it just, they turned it on that last drive to tie the game up. But then you look at it like, that I kind of felt the Washington football team effect. Like, we'll see the whole second half they'll stall out, but to make it a game and make it exciting, they'll find a way to get a drive to tie the game up to force it to overtime. And then the fact that it went, to overtime, and the way Kansas City walked off the week before, I still thought Kansas City was going to win it, but just didn't go that way, and Cincinnati definitely stepped up. Joe Burrow definitely did what he had to do. Like you said, he got first downs with his legs when needed. He made the right decisions in the pocket. As you said about Mahomes, he was taking sacks, Burrow wasn't. And he definitely deserves all the kudos and the accolades he's getting now for doing what he's done and getting his team to the Super Bowl.
And overtime works, people. It's not an issue. Wasn't an issue before. Not an issue now. Overtime works. It's not a problem.
They found a way to stop them from
Say it a little bit louder.
Overtime is not a problem.
Hey,
Because I have to say, I went into a Twitch chat and they were like, here's the problem as it's going to overtime. Whoever gets the ball first is going to win. I said, I think that we talked about it last week. I gave a plug to the show. I said, hey, we believe that it's up to the defense and special teams to make a play to get the ball back. You have to win it as a full team. It's not about just offense. It's not a question of who has the better offense or whose offense is first. If you lose the coin toss, your defense has to show up. Guess what happened right after I explained this? The defense got a pick and showed up. Yep. It is very much a possibility within this game. And it happened right then.
Something that should have happened with Buffalo, instead of letting one of their best two players go streaking down the field and get into field goal range with ease. That's my problem. It's simple. It's very simple.
Yeah, this game. I was doing the other show, and this game was on, and yeah, I had to get myself together. Because I did not see that coming the way Cincinnati. And I had a couple of folks that commented on my post like, hey, watch Joe Burrow in the second half. It's going to be a different game. And then as soon as, like I said, they failed to get points at halftime, I was like, yeah, it's going to be interesting now because they got some momentum. They got that touchdown late in the first half. They was able to get out of the half without giving up no more points. I was thinking, yeah, that's a bad sign. Even though they're on the road, they got the momentum. So, yeah, like I say, hats off to Cincinnati. Like I said, I still don't know who I'm rooting for. I still haven't decided. But let's go ahead and get into the NFC Championship game, which was a 20-17 Rams victory. This game was, I felt like, as we talked about a little bit before with Anna, this was Kyle being Kyle, trying to outthink the game and not being able to adjust to the adjustments of the other team, at least adjust in an effective manner in order to get his offense to aid his stellar defense. And he has to, I was having flashbacks of, as I say, another Washington football team moment with Kyle running the offense and, things stalling out and him not finding a way to get out of it, 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. And, eventually your defense is going to get worn down. And, the Rams did what they had to do, stayed in the game, and were able to overcome, all of that and win the game. It was, I'm just glad the Rams won because the main reason, like I said, I didn't see Trent Williams in the Super Bowl.
I feel you. Look, I mean, doesn't Jimmy Gag remind you of another idiot, Kirk Cousins? The same dummy. Sit back, drop back, and what idiot tosses a ball like that? When you got another chance, why you tossing it like that? And then you want to be mad because people called you out for being an idiot, the idiot you've been all season long throwing stupid stuff like that. And then you got your receivers defending you in the media. Please don't ever tweet at another media person about Jimmy Gag ever again after that. Because we're just going to continue to roll that tape over and over and over and over again. Please, nobody wants to hear that. Look, the Rams did everything they could to try to hand them that game. Like we've been talking about all season long. Rams do everything that they can to try to lose a football game, then try to win one. That's what they do over and over again. And everybody want to talk about all these people they got on defense. Look, them jokers 9 times out of 10 play like individuals and are more oftentimes out of position and luck up on things than actually doing their daggone job. And it just so happened that they got Kirk Cousins number 2 sitting over there, Jimmy Gag, to just give him the ball game. Because you're right, Carol. See, Kyle just don't know when to just say when. right? He don't know when to say when. He just can't help himself. He got to go do something and got to prove something to somebody. You've been in this league long enough, man. You ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. I mean, you just have to prove that you're a Shanahan, right? Shouldn't your name be enough? I mean, that's the reason why you're getting jobs half the time anyway, right?
Pretty much.
Because of your name. Because all the stuff you've done in this league, you shouldn't even be here for the amount of leads you've blown over the years, big leads you've blown in this league. So, I mean, just stop. You know your quarterback does this every time, and you continue to give him the opportunity to put you in positions to where he can hand the other team the football when the other team is handing you the game on a silver platter.
It's gonna be an interesting matchup though, just because it's gonna be played in LA, and I believe in, you know, since I just went to the road and played in, I would argue, a much harder stadium, but still, like, the Super Bowl, the energy at home, it's gonna have an effect for sure. Like, I think last year, it definitely helped Tampa Bay, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if it helped LA out this year. It's just so weird. For over 50 years, you know, they picked the venue before the season starts, and it never ended up being a home team. This is the first year, other than in New York, where it could land on two different teams, you know, where that could make it. But it's just really interesting to see
I don't think SoFi is that great of a stadium, though. I mean, they have more 49ers fans than Rams fans, and I just don't. I don't know if they're gonna have when it's a home game. And they don't have no outside influence of another California team or anyone nearby. They don't really have that many people there.
Well, dude, you know, you gotta remember, the San Francisco fans are a little different out there. They will fight you, stab you,
they will,
and shoot you in the stands. So they were probably a little hesitant to go out there because I heard there was fighting after the game anyway. So.
Yeah.
Them Oakland, well, ex-Oakland fans in San Francisco, they know about them battles in the parking lot. So I think for the Super Bowl, I think that the Rams fans definitely going to show out.
We'll see. I'm very interested to see how it turns out because I don't see much home field advantage for that. But I don't think it really matters. I don't think it matters at all. I think they are what they are. Like I said, McVay better not be better. He just like his boy Kyle. Like, y'all just do what you've been doing and don't put it in Matthew Stafford's hand to try to be a hero. That's all I'm saying. Because that defense will take it from you. And you don't want that. You don't want Joe Burrow to be in his hands like that. It don't matter because I'm not picking the Rams, period. The AFC is the stronger division. And I'm not going that way. I'm sticking with my pick. I picked them to be in the Super Bowl, and that's where I'm staying. I'm staying with Jimmy.
I didn't
get the Gat Burrow. I'm staying with Joe. Get the Gat Burrow. We going with the Bengals all the way. Period.
Yeah,
I'm staying with the pick.
I think that your pick is right now. I definitely. I always root for the NFC team unless it's like a big rival of the Washington football team. So it's just the way I tend to go. And also Cincinnati is a rival of the Ravens, who are my second favorite team. They're my AFC team. And so for me, I'm going to root for LA. But with that being said, it's a great story for Cincinnati, and I do think Cincinnati is going to win. So if I'm picking a team, I'm picking Cincinnati, but I'm going to root against the favorite just because as a Ravens fan, it's hard for me to ever root for Cincinnati. It would be kind of, in my mind, like rooting for the Eagles, right? Like it just, under only the most dire circumstances would I root for the Eagles. And this doesn't fill that. Like if it was against the Cowboys or something like that, I would root for Cincinnati, right? You know,
right.
So, but it's not that situation for me. So, thankfully. So I want to thank Carly. She actually just gifted you, Dujanay, a gift sub to your Twitch handle, so you can use my emotes on Twitch, and that's really cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanking you for 3 weeks of awesome work, and I look forward to covering the Super Bowl. So I guess it's in 2 weeks. Next week, I'm sure we will give you the week off because we do not need your coverage of the sham game that is the
I'm so sick of that game.
Do you watch it still?
Heck no, I haven't watched it in probably 15 years. I haven't watched it. As a matter of fact, no. I tell you, the last time I watched it when Sean Taylor was still alive. That's the last time I seen that game.
2000.
And I took a glimpse of it. When they switched it. The first time they used like Michael Irvin or somebody, and I took a glimpse of it then to see who they were going to draft. And I didn't even watch the game. That's it. I haven't seen that game since. I don't care. It's trash.
That's the worst.
Absolute trash.
It's the worst All-Star game all for the major four.
Trash. Like, don't even know why they even talk about it. Like, why don't they do what they do on Madden? Say who made the Pro Bowl, skip that week. It's not even a game and play the Super Bowl. Like, just say who made the Pro Bowl and keep it moving. Make it a list and give people some type of award or a trophy or you get a little pinky ring. I don't know. But in the game, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Something for somebody to get hurt in. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I think I'm totally down to skipping talking about it next week, Harold, unless you feel it's worth covering. I don't even know.
Rarely cover the Pro Bowl. I'll probably just, give my
It's
pick.
fine. We could just go basketball, hockey next week or something, or maybe preview the Olympics. When do the Olympics start? It's soon, right?
A couple of days. I think it's supposed to start I thought it was Wednesday, ain't it?
Yeah, so maybe that.
I think it's
I probably don't even watch that either.
Friday,
I'm not even up to
Like I
watching
said,
it right
I'm gonna
now.
probably watch curling, and I'm probably watch the biathlon. I can't even say it. Shit.
Biathlon, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Where they be doing the shooting and skiing and stuff. I used to play on the video game with me and my dad, so that's one reason I know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so next week. I think maybe instead of having football be in between, we'll do hockey and then keep the winter sports alive, do a little Olympic coverage, and then get into some Wizards talk, and we'll skip football, and we'll give our Super Bowl previews now, and we can always flip that up and show that. I don't think it's going to change in a week based on what's going to happen in the Pro Bowl. Yeah, all right. Well, let's break down the Super Bowl just for a few minutes real quick. I have one last thought about the Cincinnati game. I was just really surprised that they were able to come back. I really thought that game was kind of over in the first, and I know that when they scored the field goal and cut it to 8, I did say in Davey's chat, Davey eating a sandwich, he's a great streamer, and I had joined him to talk about this AFC Championship game, and I was like, it could make a difference, and then right away it was a pick, and it did, and it was just that turn of momentum was just so surprising to me. I just thought Kansas City is in an interesting situation where they go to overtime and they're at 4 home games in a row in a conference final, and they lose 2 of them in overtime. So they're 2 overtime losses away from 4 straight Super Bowls, right? I mean, and we'll be talking about it totally differently, and it's just so interesting they lost both by winning the coin toss and losing the coin toss now. So it's not a coin toss situation for those who wanted to play that as the reason. But for me, it was just Cincinnati just really took it to them, and LA came back too. It's like the story of both teams coming back, and it was just so unique. And it's weird, the playoffs have kind of paralleled each other on same days. Last week we had like a more defensive slugfest on Saturday and like a comeback games on Sunday, and then this one we have 2 comeback games on a Sunday. It's just interesting the parallels that this playoff has had. I don't remember in previous playoffs feeling that way, so it's just sort of an interesting lead up where they've had very similar paths to get to this ultimate game here. And I know, Dujane, you're picking Cincinnati in this game, but what do you sort of, in a quick little breakdown, what do you see is going to come out of this game?
I see much of the same. The real big thing here is when I look at the Rams and what they do, it's pretty much the same thing with Kansas City. Kansas City likes to run the ball. They like to throw it all over the yard. But I think their weapons, the Rams' weapons, aren't as potent as what they faced with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know people talk about that front of the Rams, but I don't trust their secondary. I mean, how many times they couldn't do the job in the last week of the season to beat the 49ers because the defense gave up big plays down the field to Debo Samuels and to Ayuk and Kittle. I just don't see them being able to be able to contain those types of things. I think that Cincinnati Bengals team is more physical defensively. Offensively, I think they can be physical with you when they need to be. They're very gritty, and they will fight you till tooth and nail until the end. The only concern I have, which was really kind of solved for me or answered for me against Kansas City, was the offensive line. They've been giving up a lot and forcing Joe to make some moves and allowing him to receive some pressure. But he's done a really good job of absorbing that, getting the ball out quickly or using his legs to make plays. I think he can still do that against the Rams. And again, like we've talked about all season long, the old additive, you are what you are. And all season long, the Rams have been a team that doesn't go out and take games. They go out and they just flounder around, and hopefully the other team gives up the ghost and they just fall into a win. But they fight all game long to give it to you. And all you have to do is go and take it. And they, in the NFC, haven't faced any team that is willing to go and take the game. Period.
Yeah.
And I think this team understands in the Cincinnati Bengals with that quarterback, with that grit, understands what's at stake here. And them playing at home in the comforts of their home, they ain't got to go anywhere, all that good stuff. That's nice, but that also can be a negative. And I think for this Rams team, I understand this is the second time they did all this stuff to come back here, but I think they are facing a team they really didn't want to have to face at all. And I think that the Bengals are going to come in here and are going to punch them right in the mouth. And I know I'm going to hear the same stuff that I heard when Kansas City Chiefs fans, they're going to jump up 14 points, and that's going to be it. And I just sat back in the comfort of my little chair and watched the show. And they came back and got the win. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit of the same. Rams will jump out a little bit, probably get a little lead. But at the end of the day, when the grit and the rubber meets the road, when it get down to the nitty gritty and it's about that those hard 60 minutes, those hard parts of that 60-minute ball game, that's when the Cincinnati Bengals kick in and get it done. And you bring that lunch pail to work, and they're gonna put in that work, and they're gonna get that win, and they'll be hoisting that trophy at the end of the day. And Joe Burrow will be cracking that cigar and had that drink in his hand, and they'll be partying it up in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I can see that. Carol, what are some of your thoughts?
Of a different thought process. Like I said, I haven't officially made my pick yet, but with the Rams, as Dujane mentioned, the secondary hasn't been doing the job that they've been paid to do. With the front, I saw something yesterday with Aaron Donald when they were down, pulling the whole defense to the side and actually, not doing something dumb, but being the leader and help getting the team back into it, the defense playing better to get them off the field in order to score those 13 points in the fourth quarter to win the game. With McVay and him being there before, I'm thinking he's going to, hopefully make some adjustments. You got a whole week to fix the mistakes that he's made previously. I think with their offense, with Beckham, he's definitely going to want to make an impression on this game. So I think he's going to be, I hate to say it, I think he's going to be a player in this game to watch. Cincinnati definitely is a physical team. They have a solid defense. Their offense is with Burrow is, top notch, and him and the connection he has with Chase. That's definitely going to be a key matchup with Ramsey and Chase. We saw how Kansas City was able to pretty much keep Chase contained in the first half, but Cincinnati made the adjustments in the second half and found a way to get him the ball. You know, he didn't have game-breaking numbers, but he had possession. He had catches that were pivotal in them, you know, coming back. So I still haven't officially made my pick yet, but I think it's going to be an interesting game, just like the games this weekend. Like you said, it's going to be a mirror of those. I'm not really ready to make my official pick. I'll make my pick next week during the off week of no football, since we're not covering the Pro Bowl. You know,
nice. I like the lead-in to force people to watch next week, even if we don't to talk about it. It's the cliffhanger.
Marketing 101. I've been in marketing 101.
Right, cliffhanger. I like it. I'm gonna make a pick. I think it's gonna be Cincinnati, but I will root for the Rams in this one. I think so. That's my pick is the Cincinnati. I think it makes a lot of great points. And I agree. LA has kind of gotten very, very lucky. Now, I mean, they've made their luck, but at the same time, I don't know. For me, it's a little rough for me to be like, hey, they're the team, you know. And I could be wrong. I mean, Super Bowls are always weird games. Like the way that you expect the Super Bowl to go is like almost never goes that way. Like you think it's going to be a defensive one, and it's like all these crazy scores, or you think it's going to be a high scoring one, and it's a defensive. I never feel like every year I try to predict how the Super Bowl is going to go, and maybe we could predict the right winner or loser, but it's just almost never how you get there the way I imagined it in my head, which kind of makes it exciting and interesting into itself. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I'll talk more with Carol, and we'll give our final predictions, I guess, next week on that one. And I want to thank, I think we got another gift subscription, so I really appreciate Carly for doing that. And so she gave it to ZD37, who's a diehard Caps fan. Carol, you'd like that. So that's really cool, and I appreciate all the support, Carly. And Dujanay, let people know what you're talking about this week on your podcast and shows, and where they can catch you. And I hope you enjoy your week off, and we'll definitely want to recap the Super Bowl with you, I'm sure.
Yeah, this week, tomorrow, we're going to have a special edition of The Breakdown. I will be having Darren Williams of American Hot Rod Entertainment on the show. And we're going to talk about leading up to Pomona. We're getting really close to the NHRA drag racing season, as testing will be next week. So we're going to just talk about what's coming into the season. We're going to give our top 10 preseason list for Top Fuel and Funny Car. I hate those top 10 lists, but he asked me to do it. So I came up with a cool formula. And it's always fun, I guess, to kind of do those types of things. So we'll have that show, and that show will drop tomorrow night, and we'll push it on Wednesday, the day of the 2/2/22 stuff there. And on the Not Bland show, we will get a chance to talk a little bit about testing and what I think about testing, what I think is important about it, and what to look for, who to look for. And as we get into Pomona here, and I believe NASCAR starts this weekend, so that's going to be fun. I might even talk a little bit about that as we get into this weekend and NASCAR starts. I believe it's in the bowl, so I'm interested because it's not really hard. Those not hard banks. That's pretty flat banks, so I'm interested to see how these cars drive into the corner as these banks are not very high. So that's what we got coming up. And it should be fun, man. We're only like 2 weeks out to the start of the NHRA season, so it's going to be fun.
Tuesday, right before you go, you mentioned it, so I just want to get your final take on it. What do you think they're going to be? I know you said you don't care what it is. What do you think they're going to go with? What's your last gut feeling?
With who?
With the Washington football team. What do you think their name is going to be?
Yeah, I think the Commanders thing is I think that's a smoke and mirrors.
You do. So this is what I'm curious about. Yeah.
Because this is the thing. look, in the past, this team, we know this team is famous for leaking information and ruining surprises. But I think the fan base thinks that this has been ruined. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be like a red tails, a red something.
All right.
But I don't think it's admirals or nothing like that. I think it's going to be a red something. But it is not Commanders. I think that is smoke and mirrors. You have been duped, people. You have been duped.
I'm so happy that you feel that way because I think it will be Commanders, and I'm really mad at the name, and so I hope that you're right. I'd be happy with Red Hogs. I know we've gone over why Red Wolves doesn't work because of the Timberwolves, although that still was my favorite. But I'd be fine with Red Tails, Red Hogs, whatever. I'd prefer those over Commanders myself. Carol, I know you said that you'll call it whatever they are. You don't really care. What's your gut feeling? Last prediction of what you think they'll be called, and if you got to pick, what would you want?
I mean, I've seen stuff about Red Hogs or something like that. I mean, like I said, honestly, I'd be happy if it's just a Washington football team or Washington football club. I've never really thought about it too much. Yeah, I'm good. Like I said, either way, whatever it is, I'm going to root for them, so it don't make me a difference.
I'm just going to say this, though. If it is Commanders, I'm just going to go back to same old Washington. If it actually is Commanders, same old Washington. I'm sorry, but I am 100% standing by the fact that y'all been got. You do. It is not Commanders, but y'all can keep running with that. But it is not Commanders. All these people claiming that they know, get out of here. I don't think they leaking anything. Nothing's coming out of that building now. This ain't your like your grandson's, this ain't back then. This ain't that team leaking stuff. I don't think so. I think you've been duped.
All right. I had to get one last conversation about it again. 2/2/22. So very, very soon we will finally have a name, and I'll have to redo a lot of logos again and graphics for the third time. But it is what it is, right? So I'm excited to get a name, so at least that they can that all the jokes about, well, at least our team has the name. Although I'm with Carol, I would have been fine with keeping the Washington football team name. And I still wonder if we had actually made the playoffs this year, if they would have changed it or not. There's a lot of superstitious people out there. So it would have been interesting. So anyway, well, DJ, thank you for helping us break it down. I am excited to talk to you. You're probably going to be right about a Cincinnati victory on the Super Bowl. We'll see if you're right in 2 weeks, and I hope you have a good one. And I hope people check out all of your shows over on the podcast partners button on sports.thp.com.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
All right, man.
All right.
Take it easy, bro.
Later.
All right, so I'm going to take away some things, and then we're going to bring in Champ, and we're going to bring in our NBA roundtable here. We're going to go through these games relatively quickly because I don't really want to talk about losses too much. But we'll bring in the whole team. Let me just see right here. I don't see Arun on yet. I don't know if he's joining us or not. I didn't check my messages, but Tim, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I saw Arun on a few minutes ago, so he might be jumping on. But either way, great to see you guys.
Yeah. I'm happy that you could be here to help break this down. I'll be totally transparent. I did not watch a ton of these Wizards games. I had a very busy week last week, but I was scoreboard checking, and I was kind of, at least in the first game, thought it was a foregone conclusion. So I'm kind of mad at myself for not turning it on and thinking that, I guess. But we'll break down that one as well as some of the other Wizards action this week. DCsPeoplesChamp, I had so much fun on your stream over the weekend. I love your guys' live watch-alongs. I love making some commands for you. That was a ton of fun. How are you doing tonight?
The shirt that I'm wearing is very appropriate for the way this week went because it's simply one word that you can't see if you're listening. What?
Nice. Yeah. So it was a pretty miserable week for the Wizards. I'm gonna pull up our stream share real quickly. Oh, hold on. Well, Arun, how are you doing tonight? I see that you've logged in while I have to give myself access to the other computer.
I'm doing okay. Some technical difficulties, but I think I got it sorted out.
Oh, great. Well, I'm happy that you were able to fix it. Let me
We're going to talk about that Knicks game again.
Yeah, we don't have a Knicks fan in the house tonight. It'll just be the three of us. But I'm sure that next time we play the Knicks, I'm sure he'll have a lot to break down in that one. Let me pull up here and fix the Zoom meeting there. All right.
A whole lot of just losses to talk about.
Yes, that is sadly true. All right, we only had 2 games, so it should be relatively easy to break down. But let's start with this Clippers game. So the Wizards come out strong, outscored them 32-23, and in the second quarter, outscored them 34-13. So that's pretty incredible to hold a team under 25 and to score over 30 in 2 quarters. And the halftime score looked really good. I mean, it was 30. They had only scored 36 points, and we had scored 66 points. And the third quarter, they just imploded. They let the Clippers score 40 points on them. They only scored 27. And then they let the Clippers score 40 points again in the fourth quarter and only put up 22 to lose by 1 point. That shows how large of a lead they had to allow 2 40-point quarters and still only lose by 1 point. I just can't get over that. The Wizards had a bunch of people in double-digit scoring. I mean, in my mind, they scored enough points. It was defensive lapses, especially in the second half, to get them into this situation. Bradley Beal had a pretty decent game, 23 points, 9 rebounds. Kuzma had 12 rebounds and 19 assists. Just very frustrating. I'm going to go through the panel. I'm going to start with you, Champ. Champ, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
I'm not sugarcoating shit. This was the second biggest choke job in the history of the NBA. You led by as much as 35 points. You outscored them by 30 in the first half, and then you got outscored by 31 in the second half. To the point that Bradley Beal, your longtime franchise player, is questioning his own team's identity. That's why I'm wearing this shirt that says, what? Because even I thought this was a foregone conclusion. I said, oh, this shit on them. They're out of here. Let's look ahead to the next one. Fine, whatever. Nope. Nope. The Clippers just would not go away. And they came back and ended up, Kennard scored 7 points in the final 9 seconds of this game to win this game. And then what makes it even more painful is that the NBA came out the next day and said that 4-point play shouldn't even happen because the foul occurred on the floor and not in the act of shooting. So they shouldn't even, point blank, we're not blaming the refs. The Wizards should not even have been in that situation to even have lost by 1 or even have the game be that close, period. You're up by 35 at 1 point. It should not have been that close for that call to make a big difference between whether y'all win that game or y'all lose that game. But the bottom line is this was the second biggest league loss in the history of the NBA. The Wizards are now on the wrong side of history. And now we got to question, who really is this Wizards team, honestly? Because this right here, I don't know what this was.
It is the team that we're consistently seeing. I mean, we've been in a big losing slump. We had a huge homestand we did not take advantage of. It's pretty brutal. Tim, I'm going to go to you next. What are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Wizards, I think, have a real problem right now because they have too many players in their rotation, and their rotation changes every single game. And I think a lot of players realize that if they can't stay in the rotation, they're going to get traded or they're going to just sit on the bench the rest of the year. And you have a lot of guys not playing as a team because they just want to jack up shots and get their numbers so they can either stay in the rotation or move on. So just a lot of kind of bad basketball, a lot of players playing with guys they're not used to, a lot of guys coming, in and off of the injury list and the COVID list. It's just very inconsistent. And I know we have a new coaching staff, but it really doesn't reflect well on them because they should kind of be figuring these things out in practice, not in games. It looks like they're kind of experimenting a lot, which is not good. Even the Wizards marketing staff got in trouble. Like this game, they celebrated Chinese New Year, and the Wizards are getting all sorts of crap because they played a message from the Chinese ambassador. So even like political people are mad at the Wizards right now. They can't get out of their own way. But just, to have such an amazing start and to kind of implode is crazy. It's really the opposite of last year. This was the point last year where they kind of started to play very well and turn it on. And it's been the complete opposite. So, we don't have Westbrook. That's good for the team, but we need his leadership or somebody to step up like that because the team is not playing better right now. They're getting worse.
Yeah, there's definitely a lack of leadership. We were circulating some stuff in our group chat about how no one really wants to be the veteran leader of this team, and that's it should easily be Bradley Beal, but clearly it's not happening. Westbrook was clearly the leader last year, even though Bradley Beal is their go-to star, and losing him is hurt. I mean, for the longest time, I thought we had won this trade because I think that the players that we got in the trade are performing better than Westbrook is out in LA, but we're still not getting wins out of it. So it's not, and neither is LA, to be honest. So I think both teams in some ways lost the trade, right? Because they didn't make them better.
Dinwiddie tried to be a leader, and they just basically shrugged him off and say, "Go away." That's the problem I have. Dinwiddie tried, no one was interested, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, that pisses me off too. That's it's very, very frustrating. Arun, I gotta ask you a question. I know you might not know this off the top of your head, but how often do you lose on a 4-point play? It's just it's pretty crazy to me. How often do you think that even happens in the NBA?
I don't even know. It's pretty rare for it to happen. And also, they were up by 6 with 13 seconds left, and Kuzma missed a free throw, then a 3, and then they have a 5-second inbounds turnover. They didn't even throw the ball inbounds, and then on a 4-point play, I don't even know if that was a foul, but Beal was complaining to that official way too much throughout the game. It was a female official, and she probably was just sick of Beal, and she probably just gave Beal a bad call because Beal, all he does is complain. When even on plays when he's not really fouled that much, he just gives the officials too much, and that's probably the official was "Oh, I'm just going to call a foul on a 3-point shot." It definitely wasn't a foul, but it was still pretty bad. The collapse already happened. We were already about to lose that game kind of a couple minutes ago, but there were a couple clutch plays by Kuzma. He really came through, but it's not going to mean anything because at the end of the day, you have to come away with a win. And it's the second straight week where they've lost by a point in that game, and this one was a pretty bad loss. After the first half of the season, they're pretty perfect, in all these close games. But I don't know, Wes Unseld Jr., I thought his rotations in the fourth quarter were pretty bad because he just stuck with Dinwiddie throughout the whole fourth quarter, didn't really give him a rest. He was 2 of 10 from the field. He didn't play Gafford or Bryant. He played Harold the whole fourth quarter, and he played pretty well defensively, but you still give up 40 points in the fourth quarter after giving up 40 points in the third quarter. It's just not going to get it done.
For sure. All right, I don't think there's much more we can break down about this game. Let's go into that other game, which just seemed like it was going bad from the start. I mean, we were outscored 30-15 in that first. Sort of set a bad tempo for the game. Then outscored 33-26. And I thought the Wizards played okay from, in the second half, but it was just too big of a hill for them to climb. I mean, they outscored them 31-24 in the third. And then the Grizzlies actually outscored them by 5 in the fourth to win by, ultimately 20 points. They had got it down to where it was feasible that they could maybe make a comeback in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter. But I just always felt that Memphis was the much better team here. This game was being played in Memphis. Unfortunately, Kyle Kuzma had a good game, 30 points. And Bradley Beal did not have a very good game, in my opinion. He had a lot of assists, but just not putting together enough points. And ultimately, it's just the Grizzlies kind of put together a great game. They had a ton of players in double figures, and just overall just outshot them in threes, field goals, free throw percentage. And it's tough when you almost double the other team in rebounds, and 60 to 37. It's going to be difficult to come back in those games. I'm going to do it in the same order. Champ, what are your thoughts on this game?
My not sugarcoating anything continues. We got absolutely shit on this game. Absolutely shit on. Ja Morant went out there and had a 6th straight 30-point game with 34 points. Only Kyle Kuzma was able to kind of stand up and match him almost. And when you look at that rebound total, that's almost 2-to-1 in terms of rebounds for the Grizzlies as opposed to the Wizards. This team does not know who they are. This team started off 10-3. It looked like they were going to be the beast of the East. It looks like everybody's going to be looking at them like, oh, that's a team we need to watch out for. They've gone 13-23 since. They've gone 10 games under 500 since that start. Having their leader, their franchise player, like I said earlier, questioning who this team is. Dinwiddie saying, hey, I tried to step up and be a leader. Didn't nobody care? It's so frustrating. And then you got Daniel Gafford, who has been a stud in the middle, being put out of the rotation in favor of TB, which is well-deserved because he is the original starter in the middle. And Trez, who's been amazing, but I feel bad for Gafford being put out of the rotation when he's been doing so well when TB was still recovering from that ACL injury. Tim said it earlier. They need to figure out these rotations in practice and not when it actually counts in games. Because if you're figuring it out then, you're going to have problems. And this is where that problem popped up. We went down to Memphis and got absolutely destroyed. It was a 20-point game, a 20-point loss, but the Wizards never led in this game. So again, figure it out, Coach Unseld.
Yeah, he was looking like the coach of the year at the beginning of the year. I was like, holy moly, like we stole a coach. And I can't tell if the players aren't buying into it anymore or if other teams have figured out his coaching style or it's just, what the issue is. But it's clearly not getting the same results that we were getting early on in the season. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game and some of those things?
Yeah, it seems like, years and years ago, but it was only maybe 2 months ago that the Wizards absolutely blew out Memphis in DC by about 30 points. Ja Morant and the Grizzlies are playing great basketball. They had like an 11-game win streak, so there's no shame losing to this team on the road, but just to be down 20 at halftime, this game was over in the second quarter, and that's really unacceptable because this is a team that got embarrassed, with the second worst comeback loss ever. They should come out on fire, especially in the first half. I mean, I actually expected them to take the lead in the first half, maybe blow it because Memphis is a better team, but it was kind of the other way around. And just the Wizards have a problem where Gafford, he plays really well in the first quarter. He gets a bunch of points and rebounds, but he always gets 2 fouls right away. And he always goes to the bench, and they never go back to him except maybe one good stretch in the third quarter, and that's it. And Steven Adams absolutely dominated this game. He did whatever he wanted. I'm surprised he didn't have 20 rebounds because he was just getting lobs, offensive rebounds. Nobody could match him. And I also thought the Ja Morant dunk, obviously like a top 10 highlight. I thought it was actually a charge, and the NBA just gave him that call on the challenge because it was such a nice dunk. But yeah, just another disappointing game. I just think the Wizards, they're probably going to end up making a couple trades, but at the end of the day, I mean, Beal is the leader. He's getting paid. He should establish the identity of the team. And I just get the feeling that he's a great number two, and he needs somebody to kind of run the show. And it's clear to me now, you know, that he is the alpha dog finally on the roster, that he's just kind of waiting for someone to establish the culture for him. So, you know, that's disappointing, but he's not like providing answers right now. So,
yeah.
Real quick, the Grizz lost to the Wizards on November 5th by 28 points, 115-87. There were 7 players in double figures.
Crazy.
Seems like forever ago, but
yeah, exactly. They probably didn't forget, right? So like, that's probably did not help in this game. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this game and the overall Wizards situation?
Yeah, just based on the first blowout that the Wizards had, I thought they were going to get blown out in this one because, as you guys mentioned, Memphis probably was going to remember that. But it wasn't helped by the Wizards' performance on the defensive end. Thomas Bryant only made 2 out of his 8 shots, and his defense was pretty bad. And he was minus 15. They're outscored by 15 points when he was on the floor. No Daniel Gafford, which was, I don't know, he didn't play in the second half of that choke job against the Clippers. He didn't play at all in this game. A little bit confusing. Apparel was okay. Beal with 12 assists, but only 9 points. Brian actually had the parlay with the double-double with Beal, and he got the assist, but not the points. And I don't know what's wrong with Beal this season. And he's actually auditioning for a contract, so it's kind of confusing why we should probably bring in more. And it's not like Dinwiddie's like that much worse than Isaiah Thomas or Ish Smith. So it's not like, I think Beal has just progressed a lot this year. He's not knocking down his 3-point shot. Teams are kind of game planning for that. The new rules may have an effect. And I think the reason why the Wizards struggled, their defense is just pretty bad the past couple of weeks, giving up 115 points. In this one, giving up 80 points in the second half of that Clippers game. And Kispert was pretty bad and missed all his threes. Davis Bertans, Daniel Gafford, DMPs, along with Netta. So I think Unsel's going to get a little bit of heat. We'll see how he responds with this pretty tough week. They might go 0-4 this week.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. That's a good segue. So I'm going to list off the upcoming schedule, and then I'm going to let you guys each have a shot at these first 3 games, and we're going to give our quick take on the 4th game that we'll actually be covering live next week on the show. So the first 3 are Wizards at Bucks tomorrow, so if you're listening live, or Tuesday at 7:30 if you're not. And then we have a back-to-back where we go from Milwaukee to Philadelphia, where we play the 76ers. So it's a 7 o'clock game. So it's less than 24 hours later. And then the Suns come to Washington on Saturday at 7. So we have a couple of days off before that one. Then we have a day off on Sunday. And then on Monday, as I was saying before during the podcast, there's going to be a 7 o'clock game. The Heat come to town in that one, and we'll be talking about either the 4th quarter in that one potentially, or depending on how long Olympics coverage goes, or maybe we'll just recap how that game goes in addition. I'm going to let Champ, you can have the first pick between the Bucks, 76ers, and the Suns. Which game do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the 76ers game because it's a back-to-back road game, and with the way this team is playing, I can't be confident that they can win this game. Now, granted, Joel Embiid will be out, is listed as out for this game because of rest, because I guess they're going to be coming off a back-to-back, right? But you're not going to have Beal for this game as well as the Bucks game. He injured his wrist in that Grizzlies game, so he's out for the next 2 games. So someone's going to have to step up. Dinwiddie tried, and they said, nah. Someone's going to have to step up. Someone's going to have to play big. And if they're going to do that against the third best team in the Eastern Conference, someone's going to have to do it. So I have zero confidence that this team can beat the 76ers in Philly. I just have zero confidence. I'm putting this down as an L. I would love to be wrong. Just trust me, when I go against the Wizards, I would love to be wrong. But the way they've been playing, the fact that this week they gave up a 35-point lead to lose by 1, and then they got blown out in Memphis, I just have zero confidence in this team right now. So I'm calling this a loss, honestly. This is an L.
We also had this big win that we talked about on MLK Day, right? And I just think that this is going to be another one of those games that's fresh in their mind. This 117-98 B-Town, almost like a perfect game that we talked about on MLK Day. And it's just interesting to see that ever since then, it's kind of slowly gone downhill to where we are now. So, Tim, between the Bucks and the Suns, which game do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about the Suns. I mean, both games are very difficult. The Suns right now, I just checked. I think they have the best record in the NBA. They've won 10 straight, and they've only lost 4 road games the whole year. So they're a great basketball team. I think the Wizards actually beat them in DC last year. So maybe they'll remember that and use that as revenge ammunition. But I mean, the Suns are a stacked team. They almost won the NBA championship last year. They blew a finals lead. So they're on a mission this year to go back to the finals, I think. And it's going to be really tough. I can't pick a win for the Wizards here, but, you know, maybe just the fact that it's at home and the Wizards are nursing a bad losing streak, you never know what could happen. It could be like last year. So I'm going to pick a loss.
We lost to Phoenix in Phoenix on December the 16th by 20, 118-98. Just put that out there.
Yeah, so I guess you could say the Wizards will want to get revenge, but it doesn't really work for us. So
Yeah,
as much.
it doesn't work the same way when it's us against a really good team. Yeah, so like the Suns, if you look at the Western Conference, are number 1 with 40 wins and only 9 losses. So that's going to be a rough one for sure in that matchup. All right, so that leaves Arun with the next game, tomorrow's game, the 7:30 Bucks game. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that game. You would think it's not a winnable game for the Wizards, given the Bucks are the defending champions, but the Bucks themselves just lost by 36 points to the Denver Nuggets. They haven't been as consistent this year. They also lost by 16 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I think Milwaukee should probably win this game, given all the turmoil that's going on in Washington. Although Bradley Beal typically does have his best games against Milwaukee, but maybe that Bradley Beal is long gone, like the one that knocks down 3-pointers. He only attempted 1 in the loss against the Grizzlies, and we'll see how he responds to putting up only 9 points against the Grizzlies.
Beal's out this game.
Yeah, he's an injury. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's going to be even tougher. Although sometimes the team plays better without him. We've seen that a couple of times this year. Sometimes they don't, though.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, Dinwiddie often steps up. And so the I don't know. It's interesting. I'm looking at their schedule. They beat Brian's Knicks, but they did lose horribly to the Nuggets, as you just talked about. They have a game tomorrow. They had a day off in between, and they got a big gap before Saturday. So that kind of tells me that they can lay it all on the line and know that they really push themselves as hard as they can, knowing they've got a big break afterwards, versus like Washington can't really do that, knowing they've got a game the next night. So how they're going to have to limit minutes and what they're going to do, especially without Bradley Beal as a big part of the rotation, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure.
We do hold a victory over the Bucks this year, though.
It's true. I mean, in the first half of the season, we held a victory almost everybody except for the Suns and a few others. But like, it's the second half of the season where we just can't seem to get one. So it's a tale of two halves of the seasons. Last year, as you guys were alluding to earlier, it was the opposite direction. But we're definitely trending in the negative. The last game we'll talk about real quickly is the Heat game. I'll let each one of you guys give a quick thought about that, and then I'll give some final thoughts, and we'll let you all go. So I'll start off with you, Champ. What are your thoughts on the Heat coming on our podcast next week?
This is another one that really makes me nervous. I mean, Bam Adebayo is currently averaging a double-double on the season. You should potentially have Beal back. I mean, because he's only scheduled to be out for 2 games. This is game number 4 for the week, so you should have Beal back. But hopefully, this team will figure it out, figure out their identity, figure out what they're about, figure out how, what they can do against some of these better teams. Because right now, the Heat sit at the top of the East. The last time they played each other was on December the 28th, which was a day after my son's birthday, and they lost by 7, right? So they have a little bit of revisionist history, not revisionist history, but they have some recent history of them. They currently have lost 2 out of 3 against the Heat this season. So they really have to have that determination and that focus to be like, look, we're not going to let them have us 3-1 on the season. So I would say this is where I think they figure it out and they get the W. But I don't have a lot of confidence in that, is what I'm saying. But I think they get the W on this one, honestly.
All right. I like it. Tim, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm going to go ahead and also pick 1 and 3 this week. I don't know for sure which one will be the win. I think it's a good chance it's this game. I mean, Miami's very good. Like Ken said, they've won 2 out of 3. This is the end of the season series, though, against a division rival. So you don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose that tiebreaker. I think they have a good chance to take this game. They're going to need it. This might end like an 8-game losing streak. So not the best matchup. Miami also had a lot of injuries earlier in the season when the Wizards played them, but they're healthier now. Bam was out. He's back. And Hero and a lot of players are playing great basketball this year. So it's definitely going to be tough. They'll have a lot of fans in DC too, but it is what it is. They got to start winning games or they're going to fall far out of the playoffs.
Yep, they got to win some of these. I was hoping they'd win 2 out of 4, but I'm also not very optimistic. Arun, what are your thoughts on this game and the week for the Wizards?
I'm going to be super pessimistic. I'm going to say 0-4. Miami, I think they kind of figured out the Wizards. Jimmy Butler especially, he's able to get to the rim and draw fouls. Denny can't guard him, or the officials won't let Denny guard him. And maybe they won't have like Kyle Lowry in the lineup, but they still have Bam and Jimmy Butler, and Tyler Hero can go off in any game. So this is just a really tough part of the schedule. And I think Milwaukee, even though they were blown out by the Nuggets, will probably come back with a big effort. And Miami actually lost by 30 points to the Celtics in their last game, but they were coming off a triple overtime games, and that probably explains it. So Miami will probably beat the Wizards.
Yeah, I don't know where I think the win is going to come. It's going to be a rough week for the Wizards, I think. But I'm hoping they can find 2 wins out of this. I could see the 76ers and I could see the Heat if I'm trying to look for 2 wins out of the 4. I think those are the most likely. But again, the team has surprised us. They've played good against certain teams and bad against others, and Bradley Beal being out of the lineup has helped them at times. So I never know what to expect from this team. I'm hoping that they can shock the world and get 4 wins and get their way back into this. I mean, they're falling very quickly in the standings to the point where they're probably not going to make the playoffs at this rate. They need to start getting a lot of wins here over the next couple of weeks, especially against some of these teams in the Eastern Conference. So it's going to be a rough one. All right, I'll let every one of you guys give your final thoughts. So I'm going to start off with Arun. Are you going to do any podcasting this week? And what were your quick thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, I'll probably do one more podcast. I did a couple of podcasts last couple of weeks about fantasy football and about the Wizards, but they were doing, it seems like a long time ago, and I've really struggled since I did my last podcast. So I'll probably give more thoughts about how the Wizards are doing and just the Super Bowl matchup. The games yesterday were pretty crazy. Andy Reid kind of blew it again, and we'll see what happens with the Rams are playing in LA, but there were more 49ers fans there, so it'll be interesting if that's a home field advantage. But I think I'm actually picking the Rams to win, even though I don't really particularly like the Rams, but I just think that they've been to the Super Bowl before and they have a little bit more experience. But Burrow, obviously, you can't count him out. He just beat the Chiefs, and so definitely be a great game to watch.
I'm wondering how many Cincinnati fans want to pay the top dollar that it costs right now in LA to go to see a game. I'm just wondering if casual LA fans that might not be diehard football fans might snatch up the tickets because they can afford it and it's local. I really wonder how many people are going to travel and spend the thousands of dollars it takes, and to see how many Cincinnati fans really do show up, because the tickets are way more expensive than even the NFC Championship game was. So I'll be interested to see if that.
Yeah, there'll be some angry 49ers fans probably just buying the tickets rooting against the Rams.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
They're definitely a lot of money.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your breakdown. We'll have you on next week to maybe talk Olympics if you're going to watch that. I don't know. Arun, do you have a favorite Winter Olympic event?
Definitely ice hockey for sure.
Yeah, and then will you continue to watch it without the NHL players in it?
I'll probably just I'll record and probably fast forward through it. Probably not watch it live.
Is there any other events that you might watch, do you think?
I'll probably watch whatever, like bobsledding and whatever's on. I don't know if I'll watch figure skating, but we'll see.
That's awesome. All right, well, we'll talk next week to see if you did end up catching any of it, and we'll talk basketball, of course. Thank you, Arun, for your breakdown, as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tim, what are your thoughts on this matchup for the Super Bowl, and any final thoughts you have before I let you go?
I just feel, I'm going to root for the Rams. I can't root for the Bengals, but I do think the Bengals are kind of the team of destiny. I hate to say it, but they have the better quarterback in this game, and just how they came back against the Chiefs and Raiders, and I just got a feeling that they're probably going to pull it out. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the crowd will be interesting because obviously, it should be mostly LA fans, but the Bengals haven't been in it since like '88. So their public schools just took the day off the day after the Super Bowl. Maybe they'll have some people travel because it's such a big deal there. But it's going to be a fun crowd, I think, either way. And then in terms of podcasts, though, I guess I might guest host Brian Brennan's show eventually, but that's all I've got going on right now. And I might check out some of the Olympics, but the main thing that I cared about was ice hockey with the NHL players. So I think it's a huge letdown. And also, I think with all the security and all of the quarantining in Beijing, it's not going to be fun for the athletes. So it's going to be like a really dry Olympics, but I bet the opening ceremony will be good. I'd put money on that. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, well, sounds good, Tim. Well, we'll have you on next week to talk about any Olympics you do check out and NBA action as always. We appreciate your coverage, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. And Champ, I already know that I loved your live show. Do you put all those live shows up on your podcast page as well?
I do not because it would be hard for anybody to want to listen to myself as if reacting to something and they're only listening audibly and not really watching. So the live reactions are basically Twitch exclusives and stuff like that.
Nice. And were you able to still record a show this past week as well, or?
Yes. We did record episode 143 of the podcast. It should be up now. It did take a bit to get up on Saturday, but it is up, and we did a Twitch stream for it prior to our live reactions. So, yeah, that should be up now.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, I had a lot of fun joining you and Sith on his birthday, and it seemed like a fun time. I wasn't actually watching the pay-per-view. I was just watching your reaction.
I hate the fact that Sith got COVID on his birthday. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that sucks. But at least he seemed to be in pretty decent spirits, and I'm happy we could kind of cheer him up a little bit to be with friends on that day, and so that was good. And but Champa, I appreciate your coverage as always. Let the people know what you're talking about this upcoming week on the podcast.
Well, we had the Royal Rumble on Saturday, which we reacted to on Twitch, and at the time that we watched it, we had high marks for it, but we both went back and rewatched it, and things changed. So we're going to talk about that on Saturday, as well as we will recap all the fallout from Royal Rumble with SmackDown and Raw, as well as what AEW's got going on. Impact is building towards their next Impact Plus special, and NXT 2.0 is just WWE Raw Light. So we're going to talk about all of that this Saturday, back at our regular scheduled time at 6 p.m., streaming on Twitch, and then the podcast will go up as normal on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And by the way, I'm picking the Bengals to win. I like Joe Burrow. I don't see a second straight year that the home team in the Super Bowl is going to win. I don't see it. I think Joe Burrow is going to do it, and then he's going to smoke a nice cigar like I am and just revel in that.
Nice. All right. I like the prediction, and we'll definitely see how that goes in 2 weeks. I'm excited to see how that Super Bowl goes, and we'll definitely talk Olympics and not the All-Star quote-unquote game that is the Pro Bowl. So
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl. How old am I now? I'm about to be 40 this year. It's been about over a decade since I watched the Pro Bowl, honestly.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't get into it. I just can't get into the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All right, well, I appreciate you joining us as always, and we'll talk to you next week. And is there anything about the Olympics you're going to check out?
Honestly, I'm not an Olympics guy. I've never really been. I've never been an Olympics guy. I tried. Honestly, I tried, but I've never really been an Olympics guy. If I were to be into the Olympics, it would be the Summer Olympics because of wrestling, amateur wrestling. Other than that, I've never either that or golf. Other than that, I've never really been.
Even the basketball, you don't watch that?
Not really. Not really. Yeah. I've never been an Olympics guy, honestly. I've watched it a few times, but I've never really gotten into it enough to be like, oh, I can't wait for this and this and this. I can't really get into it. And then now being someone who covers wrestling so much, it's hard for me to watch anything else when there's so much wrestling going on. Like, if there was still only WWE, maybe I could be able to take the time to watch the Olympics and stuff like that. But with so many different promotions and so much going on, it's hard for me to watch the Olympics or dedicate any time to the Olympics when there's so much wrestling going on.
Yeah, for sure. I totally appreciate it. Well, we'll talk basketball then next week, and hopefully we'll have a better week to talk about, or at least a good live game to recap just either after it or in the fourth quarter. But hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. I'll see y'all next week.
All right. All right. I figured out who I'm going to raid. We're going to raid the Natalie page on my stream. But Carol, if you'd like to start our send-off, we can do that, and I'll send us to that. I know you'll probably do some music videos after. But I want to just quickly thank Carly for all the gift subs today. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I got a lot of different people that were they're lurking and being a part of the team. And Dujane actually just showed up on Twitch chat, which is cool as well. So I appreciate everyone for doing that. But yeah, Carol, it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for next week.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Another great show. Appreciate all the contributors, all the listeners, all the viewers, all the folks on Robbie's Twitch that's been tuning in. Appreciate all the love and all the following and all of the, graphic stuff y'all got going on there. I don't know what's going on over there. But as always, you can go check out the website, Sports OTHP, for all of our highlights, all of our videos, all of our shows, all of, as I said, the podcast partners, the apparel line. You can go help support the movement. Click on the link, order some hoodies, sweatshirts, phone covers, bags, any and everything you want with Sports OTHP. If you're in the market for a new or used car, you can come on down to Waldorf Honda, down 2450 Crane Highway, selling cars. If you need a new, used, pre-owned certified, come check me out. Make sure you check out the show Sunday night at the Bar Radio around 6 o'clock. Current events, politics, entertainment news, independent music, and independent music videos, which I'm about to play at the end of my feed. So make sure you check us out. Tune in next Monday for another great episode. And I might even do a pop-up show on the 2nd after the new name is announced, depending on what my work schedule is looking like, and, chat about that. So it's finally be over. We finally have a name and can finally move forward with the Washington football team, or whatever the new name is. So as always, appreciate y'all checking us out. DC Sports without the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. We out.
No. I was down, now I'm really about to go get up. 10 rounds, now that nigga can't get up. That's what you get when you go fuck with the vision. My money be piling, we don't do division. The feds be watching, I just gotta get up. I was just down, now I'ma get up. Sleeping on me, I bet that they get up. My money was low, but now I'ma get up. Oh, bet that we get up. Pushing this weight, I'm doing sit-ups. I was just dirty, now I got my fit up. Too good for these bitches, I bet they gon' miss us. And I pack a bag if you think that I'm trippin'. I keep this shit brisk like I'm sip-lipped on. Even though niggas don't know what to get on. You ain't shit, so your niggas gon' get on. Get you some pack, go make a flip homes. Yeah, I'm stuck in my bad ways. Niggas always being burnt out, so I dip them all in the ashtray. I don't understand these niggas that just always talking about, yeah, they past ways. I don't understand these bitches always comparing me to they past days. I give a fuck about you, you give a fuck about me. I just be rapping for money, you be rapping for free. Feel like that I rap like a god, the reason they call me a G. I'm against all of these odds. Niggas ain't fucking with me. Never know worries of Kuna Matata. They say that I'm hot cause the devil with Prada. I'm soldier boy first and these niggas gon' follow. Catching no feelings, you catching these hollows. Ride with Rodriguez like I fuck with Rollo. Ain't got no time when I see this Movado. Bet that bitch shine like I'm in Monte Carlo. Looking at me like I done hit the lotto. Counting your last days, get hit up. Talking that trash, Shay on Twitter. Your bitch, she be bad, yeah, I'm with her. When she see me, her face be lit up. Boy, better go ahead and mind your business. I don't go back and forth like tenor. Run this game, I don't get no finna. But we about to get up. 10 rounds, now that nigga can't get up. That's what you get when you go fuck with the vision. My money be piling, we don't do division. The feds be watching, I just gotta get up. I was just down, now I'ma get up. Sleeping on me, I bet that they get up. My money was low, but now I'ma get up. Oh. up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on the move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bag. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on the move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. But I dish it like I give it and go. Counting money while I chill at the stove. How I deliver, I've been at the dough. It's up to you how business will go. That 36 I get for the look. Count it up, no feelings will show. Spend so much, gotta get it some more. When they hands out, I just give them a no. How they always talk about me, but a nigga stand out. Watch out how you really walk up to me, that's a man down. All these niggas got these drums with them like a band now. I've been doing what I want, that's what you can't doubt. I've been just feeling myself. Do I just really need help? I got my weight up. I be just telling myself I got love for all of my dogs. I take a pay cut. Some niggas really gon' ride. Some niggas really gon' slide. So go say a prayer. We ain't never gotta slap five. Nigga just pay your ties and call me the mayor. I gotta wake up and go get the bag. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings. She giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on the move. That's a digital dash. They been just losing. I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bag. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on the move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past.
A few years ago, I told myself I'd be the next big thing in the industry. See, the game is simple. Life has its way to show us that anything is possible. The power of the tongue, which has the ability to be detrimental or beneficial. Was it beneficial? I'll leave that one up to y'all. This is my story from me to you.
You're listening to this song right now. I'm speaking specifically to you. I want to give you my testimony, tell you a little bit about myself, if you don't mind. Coming from nothing but a little struggle and pain. Crazy how we can all turn around for you and change. I done seen a lot of things in the street, wrong danger to me. Hustling with them niggas that was no good for me, but I never gave up. 10 toes prayed up, thinking about the nights when the opposition got sprayed up. Trying to see a sunny day, all I get is rainy days. Screaming free my dogs and the loved ones who ain't here today. Yeah, I miss you, wanna kiss you, wanna hug you and hold you, won't forget you. All my life I've been misunderstood, just a little nigga trying to get up out the hood. And this thing we call poverty, but that's all inside of me. Used to cry myself to sleep, but strong I gotta be. Now I'm on TV, I done made it out the street. Troubled child turned the streams to reality. See, I knew that I would get there all along. Listen to the words of the song. This is my story from me to you. All I wanna do is just give you my truth. All I really want, promise to keep this just between me and you. Just between me and you, yeah. And you can do anything. Just believe in your dreams when they come true. Who would've thought that we would come up like we did? Running around on Upland Street, man, I never forget. They told us we was bad, always getting in some shit. Breaking windows from throwing rocks, but we was just being kids. And smoking at the park, coming in after dark. Rolling with them, thug niggas reckless with no heart. Sexing on them, hood rats addicted from the start. Trapping and catching cases, ghetto life is so hard. Coming from a broken home, left me all alone. Neglected as a child with nothing to call my own. But now that I'm good, now that I'm paid, I'm shining, everything is okay. This is my story from me to you. All I wanna do is just give you my truth. I'm giving you my truth, will you hear me? Promise to great conversation. And with great faith, you can see your way out of anything.
Yo, M20, where you at? Run that up, Rico.
Tell them I'm back now. I never back down. My team strapped down. Let it go back down. Man down, that's on 911. Nigga, I never back down. No, I won't run, nigga. Chasing money till my pockets big pun, nigga. Terrorists, why you fucking with the wrong ones, nigga? Don't back down. Jesus, send you to Jesus, right to the casket. My phone of meanness, that's where the heat is. Get off my penis unless you a genius. Shit, I need this. Back down never. Who is better? Birds of a feather. Niggas all the same day don't know better. Man, I've been a king since a nigga Chris Webber. Man down, let it go. Better stay on your toes. I've been flexing on these hoes. Man down, let it go. I've been grinding, I've been fighting. Got the lightning, once the cake, got the ice. A supersizing my meal. Appetizing, oh my god. Running back, I'm a titan, nigga. Ask Paul about the kid. AnnaK is killing this shit. Man, I gotta stay lit. Nigga, extinguish your shit. I got the fire. Make us sing like Mariah. They just birds on a wire. Dirt nats, where's the choir singing? I never back down. My team strapped down. Let it go back down. Man down, that's on 911. Nigga, I never back down. No, I won't run, nigga. Chasing money till my pockets big pun, nigga. Terrorists, why you fucking with the wrong ones, nigga? Don't back down.
Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. Take me to a place where everybody learns, where everybody sees, where everybody shows their love. I didn't think so. You know. That's why I always try to plan ahead for you or me. I really didn't think so. I take a promise, I'd give it some love. I make a wish upon a star. You know you gotta get it right. You know you gotta get it right. Ooh. Every little thing counts now. Every little bitty thing. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. It'd be so cool just to celebrate all the love and